So here is my explanation on how to deal with P numbers and the underlying values with mental math only and no calculator. The fundamental of this is needed for the real test. You have to know that if pH goes up, acidity went down, and so forth. Then I'm going to get into even more nerdy stuff, which may be only really applicable to your college class. They only want ballpark answers, and I mean really ballpark answers, on the AP test without a calculator. However, you can get something pretty darn close once you know what you're doing. Here's an example. I know pH is 4.2. Well, if it was 4, then I would take 10 to the power of negative 4, and I would get 1e negative 4, which I will point out is also 10e negative 5. So we're in this range. But because the negative on the log value that gave me pH, these move in opposite directions. If this gets bigger, this gets smaller. If this gets bigger, this gets smaller. This got a little bit bigger, so this gets a little bit smaller. And that does come up in the test. If they tell you that this has moved bigger from, say, 4 to 4.2 in the pH value, you know that's more basic. Moving up in pH value is more basic, which means the H plus value, the underlying value that generated this, has gone down. If this goes up, this must go down, which again dovetails with the idea that this is more basic, and more basic is less H plus in water. So they're both saying the same thing, really. So this moved up from 4, so this has to go down from 1e negative 4. Well, how much? Well, if we consider this as 10e negative 5 for a moment, which is perfectly legitimate, it's literally the same thing, then it's tempting maybe to say, well, this is 2 spots down of the 10 spots down to here. But when you move through a log function like this, it turns out that it's sort of more powerful than it seems on the face value. So if you move 2 of the 10 rungs, you get an effect of more like the 4 rungs or so. And so I would say, remember, I'm falling from 10e negative 5, that maybe this is more like 6e negative 5. And I fell 4 rungs down toward this from here. And you know what it really is? 6.3e negative 5 using the calculator. That's really good for mental math. It's great stuff. So pH is 5.7. Well, if it was 5, then we would say 10 to the negative 5. 10 to the negative 5. Don't say that. This. This is 1 times 10 to the negative 5, which is also 10 times 10 to the negative 6. Multiplying this by 10 vaults it back up. If I'm going to go from here to there by multiplying by 10, I must conversely and immediately change this by going down by a factor of 10. If this goes up by 1 decimal, this must go down by 1 decimal. And then I really do have the exact same value. These are literally the same thing. They couldn't be more of the same thing. So if I had pH 5, I would be here, but it's 0.7. So we're falling down from, let's call it this, 10e negative 6, down and 7 rungs. But you know what? It's a little more effective, but the super effect, so to speak, starts to wear off toward the bottom. So maybe it's not 7 rungs, it's only 8, but not 9. That would still be as effective as back here. Remember when 2 rungs got me 4-ish down? 9, 8, 7, 6. So 7 rungs won't have an extra 2, it'll maybe have an extra 1. So we're down 8 rungs to like maybe 2 e negative 6. And you know what it is? It really is 2.0 e negative 6. Now pKa and Ka work exactly the same way mathematically. If I know that this is 3.4, what's Ka? Well, pKa of 3 would mean I have 10 to the power of negative 3, which is this. Or we could call it that, but it's a little bit bigger. But these move in opposite directions. So if this is a little bit bigger, this must be a little bit smaller than there. And if we're going to fall 4 rungs. So that would get you down to 6, but it's a little bit more effective than that. It's 5 or 6. Take a guess. It's 5e negative 4 mental math. And you know what it really is? It's really 4.0 e negative 4. Not too bad. I said it was 5 or 6 runs down. I guessed 5, it was 6. And I went and made a list. So, all you super nerds, my favorite people, here you go. If something like pH moves up zero point 0.1, you fall in the H plus value to 8. So if it was 4.1, we would get 8 e negative 5. Falling 0.2 falls to about 0.6, remember? Down to 6. And notice I said about. 0.3 falls to about 5.4. Remember, 0.4 falls to 4. 5 falls to 3, etc., etc. And notice the gaps decrease. Like I said, this is sort of supercharged at first. One rung will get you 2, 2 rungs will get you 4, but the effect wears off as you fall toward the lower value.